It's 7:37 a.m. Friday. Happy Friday. And yeah, I wanted to come on. I haven't posted pretty much all week. I wanted to come on and talk to you about my experience with AI this week. So I am one of those type of people who like to, just stick with what comes naturally. I'm a pen and paper kind of girl. I don't like using technology too much. And, well, yeah. Is that true? Yeah, I think it is true. So, I like, if I'm going to have a schedule or a calendar, I want it to be, on paper, something tangible I can touch. And so when this lighting in here is awful. But when AI first came out, well, I can't say first came out, but, it seemed like there was this wave of, my ponytail's low. I look bald. But there was this wave of AI, suddenly being accessible to the average person. And everybody, AI, chat GPT. And I feel like that was a couple of years ago. I know it was a couple of years ago. And so, at least, for me, it was a couple of years ago where I really would just hear people talking about it consistently. So, just listening to folks or whatever, I'm like, I'm a little suspicious about that. Use your own creativity, use your own imagination. You got a brain. You have a brain. Use it. Stop looking for AI to do the work for you or whatever. People being lazy. So fast forward to the past couple of weeks, I was looking at something specific, and they were like, yeah, just put this in the chat GPT and it'll generate all of this stuff for you. And so I was like, okay. And I was like, let me see what this is all about. And people were telling me, not people, but my sister, she was like, yeah, try to see if you can, make a logo and try to see if you can do this and that or whatever. And I was like, I don't know. So I tried the logo I tried to make a logo, and it didn't work out like how I wanted the logo to look. I'm gonna need a what's it called, a designer, a graphic designer. And so and I was inexperienced with it. Maybe that I've spent more time with it now, it'll be easier for me to articulate what I want. But anyway, so I put in the prompt and it generated all this stuff, and it was like a matter of seconds, and I was like, okay. And I was like, all right, what else? Let me try something else. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I don't know. I'm like scared. I'm scared. So I'm like, okay. So, I did what I was supposed to do with, that information. And then I was like, okay. So I left it alone for a couple of days. And then a couple of days later, I came back to it. It was supposed to generate a link for me to be able to put all that, it would have all that information in a Google Sheets or whatever. But I think it was a lot for it to, have to do. So I feel like it was struggling to make the link. So anyway, but I had forgotten about the link or whatever. And so days later, I came back to it and I put some more information in. I'm trying to think of what I put in there. I need to put in there, I forgot what it was. So, but I put some more information in there, and like instantaneously it came up with, you know, information again. I was like, dang, this is crazy. And I was like, okay, you know, what would have taken me 2 weeks to do or even think through, you know, it literally took this thing 2 minutes, not even that long, to come up with. And so at that point, you know, I'm not really scared, but I'm like, I feel like, okay, I'm kind of liking this, but I'm like scared to like it, because I'm like, I don't want to feel reliant. Like, I'm like, I'm a smart person. And, you know, I am a lover of knowledge, and I'm a lover of learning. And so I'm just, a little part of me feels like nervous that, you know, people, let me speak for myself, that I would become, you know, just a little too reliant on it. Because yesterday I put in there, you know, because, you know, we're going back to school here in a couple of weeks, and I'm also working on a business right now, and trying to like develop that. And, you know, all the quote unquote, well, I won't say all of the gurus, most of the gurus be like, you need to quit your job. But I'm kind of seeing a shift in like people's advice, where they're saying, you know, like, don't quit your job. You need to work at your job, and in your spare time, you know, work on the business or whatever. And so for years I had, you know, kind of tried to do that, but, you know, now I'm taking the business really seriously. And so I was like, okay, well, let me put let me see what ChatGPT is gonna say about, you know, a way, like how to be productive and, you know, still work your 9 to 5. So, you know, specifically I put in, you know, how ways you can you know, work on your business, or I said create a schedule for working on your business as a full-time teacher in Texas who works, you know, 5 to 6 days a week. That's what I said. And the reason I say 6 days is because, you know, all the extra hours after school, I'm sure in some way or another is going to amount to another day. So 5 to 6 days a week. And I put that in, and it just gave me this whole list, well, schedule of, you know, how I can like break up my time. And then grading and planning is really, like, for me, is really the bulk of what takes up my time outside of actually teaching, is planning and grading. Well, not just grading, but like entering grades. So you know, it'll all be graded, but, you know, taking the time to enter grades. And like now that I'm in upper grade, you know, I'm in 5th grade now. So I have 3 classes, which is, you know, about 60 kids. Well, at least last year it was about 60 kids, 60-ish, like 57, 58. And, you know, putting all those grades in it's a lot. It's time consuming. It's tedious. It's those small tasks that really eat up your time, but small but necessary. So anyway, so, you know, I put that in ChatGPT. Okay, how can I maximize, you know, or like still work on a business as a full-time teacher who works 5 to 6 days a week, and, you know, needs to prioritize planning for my job and specifically entering grades. And so then, you know, it gave me this whole, and I think I'm gonna post the schedule. I think I'm gonna post the schedule so you can see it. See what it said. Yeah. Okay, so we have weekly actionable timeline, right? And say, okay, so it has Monday, and then it breaks it down by morning, evening, and night. Well, at first it had it by, morning and evening. Morning, afternoon, and evening. And then I asked for a night routine because I wanted to, be in bed by 9:30 so I can actually wake up by 5:30 and feel refreshed. But anyway, so Monday morning, wake up by 5:30, prayer, meditation, then a quick business task. So I mean, it's gonna be up to me to designate, how I'm gonna break up that hour. But it's like, okay, that first hour of the day, that's what's happening. So I might do like 30 minutes and 30 minutes. I don't know. So, and then, it has the teaching day, and then from evening 6 to 7 p.m., I do planning for teaching, and then lesson prep, and then dinner and rest. And something that I noticed like throughout is like it was intentional about putting rest in there. So like it has rest again here. On Tuesdays from 7 to 8, it threw rest in there. So I feel like if I like stick with this schedule, I will be a lot more productive. A lot more productive. And, I just feel like, so Saturday, let me say this. Saturday, it has like from 7 to 10 a.m. business deep work block, curriculum development, business planning, policy writing, right? So, it was saying that, Saturday mornings, like, be intentional, be focused. So if you notice, I'm getting up at a later time, but it's like straight to business. Knock it out. Maximize that time. Then Sunday morning, prayer like breakfast, prep for church, go to church. Afternoon, planning for teaching with lesson plans. Late afternoon, business strategic planning. And then evening, family time, meal prep, early rest, and then night routine. So, and it has night routine on all of them. More than anything, I like structure. I like having a schedule. In college, I remember like every night I would like write out, okay, what my intentions for the next day was, like what time am I gonna, and I would write out just like I had it listed, the hours. I would write out, okay, I'm gonna get up at 6:30, go to class, 7:30, do this, 8 o'clock, do that, just have my day like structured. And I found, being a ADHD girly, I found that having that like set schedule and just like knowing ahead of time, I don't even know if it's ADHD or if it's just my personality, but having that set schedule and knowing exactly what I want to accomplish at what time really helped me to stay focused and be productive and knock things out, like get stuff done. Because the main thing is that I know what each hour is supposed to have going for it. And so if I choose to stick with, what I say I'm gonna do, then it makes for a better day. It makes for a more productive day. And ultimately, I feel better about myself because, I'm knocking stuff out. I'm getting things done. Productivity is high. So anyway, that's that on that. That's my experience with ChatGPT Will I be using ChatPTD? I feel old when I get stuff like that, acronyms and stuff wrong. I be feeling old. But will I be using ChatGPT more often? Yes. Yeah, I'm convinced. I'm not convinced. I know there are people who like name their Chat GPT, and I saw an article where like the guy proposed and fell in love with his Chat GPT, and I'm like, okay, y'all doing too much. But I'm not saying that would happen to me, but I can understand how, somebody who, maybe feels like, they've never been, I can't say they've never been hurt or never been in love or whatever, never had real relationships, because he was in a relationship, he was living with somebody. But what it is the thing about ChatGPT is like, you ask for something and it delivers. You ask for whatever you ask for and it delivers. And as long as you can articulate your thoughts, it delivers exactly what you are articulating, with no pushback, with no, with no pushback. And it's not like that with humans, Humans have their own thoughts and their own ideas. So if you ask them a question, their own understanding. So even if you articulate yourself well, sometimes people might push back, might take it the wrong way, might misunderstand, might tell you that what you're asking for is unreasonable, even if whether it actually is or not. And artificial intelligence is very likely not going to do that. But child, the way things are going, if we ain't careful, because it adapts and it learns, what people do, what human behavior is. So whatever people are asking for, it's just adapting to, okay, humans like this, humans like that. But then that's why we have to be careful, because as soon as we say, we don't want something that we said that we wanted all along, and now suddenly we change our mind. It's like, no, that's not the best. That's not the best option for you. But so far, I feel like I will mainly use it for scheduling and just helping me to, stay organized and stay productive, and just putting my thoughts into a schedule. I feel like that's what I will mainly use it for. And then like today I used it to help me to come up with a list of meal ideas for a large family for the rest of this month. Because I'm like, look, I can't for whatever reason, we gotta eat every day. But I can't keep thinking about what to cook. Like that question, what y'all gonna eat for dinner? That question is just the most annoying question in history at this point of my life. I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna eat for dinner. I don't know. And then a few times I look for something to eat, or I just, cook it. People be like, I don't want that. Well, what do you want? No. Anyway, so I can go on and on. But the main thing is, ChatGPT, I feel like it is a valuable tool. Do I still think that people need to, be careful and be intentional about using their own creativity, not exhausting their own creativity, but definitely like come up with your own ideas and stuff and try to execute them, on your own before just straight, jumping straight to Chat GPT or some type of AI tool, which I'm seeing more and more with these kids. They do not want to think. They do not want to come up with the answer. And so something I try to stress to them is that, guys, listen, you have to know how to discern right and wrong. And you have to know how to find information, not just Chat GPT or, AI or Google or whatever. Like, you have to be able to think for yourself, because if you can't think for yourself, and you're just relying on the internet and artificial intelligence to give you the answer all the time, then you're never going to be able to know what's right and what's wrong. You're never going to question, what is right and what is wrong. What could be right and what could be wrong. And you're just going to go with the flow, and then before you know it, you know what I'm saying, you're in situations that you really had no intention or desire to be in, but because you're choosing not to think for yourself. Not to think for yourself, and just letting this fake, because artificial means fake, intelligence tell you what to think and what to do and how to act. You're gonna, it could get bad. It could get bad. It could get bad. So that's the beauty of being human, is making mistakes, is trying to figure it out, is making a decision and then making it right. So anyway, that's what I'm learning in this business endeavor, in my business endeavor as well, endeavors as well, is that I just, I'm finding joy in learning, the ins and outs of business. I'm finding joy in learning what's right and what's wrong, and trying to decipher, okay, what marketing works and what doesn't, what are people's pain points and what isn't, what programs can I come up with and how can I execute them. I'm finding joy in that. And if I only get, all of my ideas from a computer, I don't know, I feel like there's no sense of ownership in that. Like I'm afraid to feel like I did not build this. Like it was literally just handed over to me. What part did I really have in this? But like I said, overall, it's very likely that I will utilize it mostly for scheduling and just helping me to kind of organize my thoughts and ideas. I do like it. I'm still cautious a little, but I do like it. I do see it as valuable. But yeah, I just wanted to, share my thoughts on Chat GPT, and I'm saying Chat GPT, but just AI in general. Yeah. So anyway, I hope y'all have a fantastic day. Remember to speak, pray, and believe the word of God in your life. I love you all, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.